We're here today in beautiful Elizabeth Park. It's my favorite park in Hartford. We used to come here a lot when we were younger, and we'd look at the flowers, the birds, the trees. Lots of people watching happens here. Many festivals as well. I love this park because it's a place that I can come to and just relax and also be connected with nature. And it's fitting that we're here today because in Connecticut, for all of its wealth, there's a lot of waste. But that's something that we can change. We're actually really fortunate in the state of Connecticut to have strong legislation for single-stream recycling, electronic waste, and mattress recycling, which was recently passed. But we don't have anything for textiles. Textiles being clothes, belts, shoes, curtains. 96,000 tons of textiles are incinerated a year in Connecticut, which is an opportunity for us. I believe with strong legislation for textile recovery, we can reduce our environmental impacts for the state and we can boost our economy. We stand to benefit a great deal from textile recovery by providing manufacturers with strong tax incentives that want to set up shop here, creating job opportunities for Connecticut residents. Manufacturers like Sustain You and Eco Apparel have been thriving in recent years through the repurposing of textiles. As you can see, what makes this brand so distinctive is that they redefine what we deem to be recycled goods. The design of the catalog evokes high fashion, and their styles speak to trend-setting consumers. The CEO of Sustain You, Chris Ura, has a different approach to sustainable clothing. He was actually a model turned manufacturer.
I worked as a fit model, and I started to learn about manufacturing and sourcing. And this was during a time when green and eco-friendly products were first coming onto the market, and I started to see some inconsistencies in what was being marketed to the consumer and what was actually being done in the back end. And what I felt was that there had to be a better way. We had a pending crisis with unemployment in our country. I'm from West Virginia originally, so I know that poverty does exist in America and that people want to work. So to kind of use technology to reinvigorate our manufacturing sector, that was really the idea behind Sustain You Clothing, and that's why the business was started. Started very small with one order of 1,500 shirts, and this year we'll make probably 400,000 units. The biggest thing for us is that we started at the college university level, where almost all social environmental changes has happened. So we started at the grassroots of using internal implementations on college campuses, like the freshman orientation shirts or the student group t-shirts. We started that way, and because of that we had a lot of early adopters into this idea that you can make something in America and you can also make it out of recycled material. And the universities saw the value in it because they wanted to promote their sustainability initiatives. But when you hand a student a shirt that's made from a recycled plastic bottle, they're more likely to recycle their plastic bottles, so because they can see the cause and effect.
So we can see very sophisticated marketing initiatives being implemented by these companies that really change the perceptions of what recycled clothing looks like and feels like. Our state can lead the way nationally on this issue, and doing so bolster its economy. Additional benefits include reducing the amount of money we spend on incinerating textiles, reduce our environmental impact, carbon footprint, and consumption emissions. This policy requires that we look at several targets: manufacturers, retailers, consumers, and textile recovery industry. On the manufacturer's end, we need compliance. The State of Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection and DEP can help implement standards by having manufacturers and retailers register textile waste reduction methods as part of their licensing with the State of Connecticut. Manufacturers and retailers can label textile disposal information on garments to include reuse, recycle, or donate. Manufacturers need to track the total gross tonnage. Retailers should include textile disposal information on consumer receipts. On the consumer's end, we need a policy that is user-oriented. Consumers need to be re-educated. There needs to be strategic marketing outreach for consumers, as well as measuring consumers' response. On the textile recovery industry, we need to make sure that textile recycling boxes are regulated by municipalities. Right now, many of them are unidentified. Only nonprofits should set up textile recycling boxes to collect textiles and provide textile recovery to municipalities. The challenges that come up with textile recovery are that we need buy-in from manufacturers, retailers, and consumers. Also, we need to change the attitudes that consumers have with the products they purchase. I mean, just because they're done using a product doesn't mean that its life cycle is over. Right now, we live in a very interesting cultural time where we have artists, for instance, like Macklemore, who are redefining the term repurposing and recycling and making it hip and fun and changing the conversation. There's a lot of positives that are underway right now that outweigh the negative. This is Macklemore in his song Thrift Shop. The concept of the video has every character wearing reused clothing in a way that enhances how they identify themselves. All the props are from another era, furthering the idea that a product's life can continue as long as a consumer sees fit. Think of that watch your grandma gave you. Would you throw that away? Probably not. The reason this legislation is so important is because it also addresses the issue on a larger scale, rather than just the state of Connecticut. A big problem on speaking about environmental issues is that too often we take a limited view on a policy we implement from state to state, rather than looking at this as a global challenge. Our legislation in Connecticut can create partnerships with other states and countries. George Martin, for example, operates a fiber conversion company in South Carolina.
The trucks actually come in bringing in the raw material, whether it's post-industrial waste or it's actual post-consumer waste that comes in at the dock. And from there, we take the material in and we actually grade it so that we actually can identify what type of material it is and what it can be used for.
Donating clothing and other textiles can also lead to transforming items into new products. Every year, more than 25 billion pounds of clothing and textiles are initially used by consumers in the U.S. However, only 15% is recycled. This means 85%, or 21 billion pounds, goes directly into incinerators or landfills. Donating clothing has one of three paths. It is sold in charity thrift shops or in secondary clothing markets, it's cut into wiping cloths, or it's converted back into fiber elements. Ultimately, 95% of all donated clothing can be recycled in one way or another, keeping it out of landfills or being incinerated. Textile recovery is something that will benefit the state of Connecticut. It will help stimulate the economy, help us become environmentally responsible, and re-educate our consumers. All around, textile recovery legislation is the way for Connecticut to go.